Whispers from Below, a horror podcast by Justin W. Geis. Scary stories, both real and fake. Hello, listeners. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 1 of Whispers from Below, a podcast by a madman for madmen. I'm your resident psychopath, Justin W. Geis, and today's topic of discussion is the podcast itself, Whispers from Below. So I just wanted to give everybody a little bit of an intro, let everybody know what this podcast is going to be about, the goals of the podcast, when it's going to be uploaded, when things are going to be running, things like that. This episode's probably going to be a little bit shorter than future episodes are going to be, but I just wanted to get a quick intro out so that you can start telling your friends, you can get hype about it, everybody can just get really excited while I get the rest of my stuff together to, film a couple episodes and release those for you. So first of all, let's talk about me, my past, my history. I used to be a ballet dancer. I did that for about 12 years. I trained at Houston Ballet Academy for 3 years. I danced professionally with Milwaukee Ballet in their second company, and then I transferred over to musical theater. So now I'm living in New York, singing, dancing, acting, living with my lovely boyfriend, Dan Hoy, and my cute little Italian Greyhound Chihuahua puppy. Her name is Fiza, and she is currently sleeping on the couch, glaring at me because I'm doing this instead of cuddling with her. I am currently living in New York, as I said, and I just got off the national tour of Cats the Musical. I was a swing for that for about 6 months. Then I took over a role of one of the kittens, Pouncival. Then I went back to swinging, and then I took over Mungo Jerry until I had to leave the tour. I did it for about a year. It was crazy and wild and fun, and it's part of the reason why I'm making a podcast now. My friend who was on the tour, her name's Maria. She has a podcast. It's called Bloom and Grow Radio. Please go check it out. It's absolutely amazing. She's got a ton of episodes for people who are just plant beginners, don't really know how to take care of a plant, and also for people that are experienced. They've taken care of plants before, they love them, but they want to know more. There's always room to grow, and she truly has amazing content on that podcast, so please go check it out. Again, that's Bloom and Grow Radio. She's absolutely fantastic, and she seemed like she always had so much fun. She's got merch now. I actually have a pop socket that says Bloom and Grow Radio on it. She's got shirts and stuff. She did all these fun events, and people kept showing up and listening to her, and it just seemed like so much fun. She got to share something she was so passionate about, and so many people just loved the topic and loved getting to know more about it. So I talked to her a little bit and said, I'm thinking of doing a podcast. What do you think? And she said, absolutely, you've got to do it. So for those of you listening right now, shout out to Maria for making this happen. So yeah, basically this podcast is going to be kind of about dark and occult topics. I've always really had an interest in the macabre, you could say. I once spent a whole summer working at a front desk, actually at Milwaukee Ballet. I was injured, and so I was helping out and working at the front desk. And I spent the whole summer researching serial killers in a building with children and parents and impressionable people, which probably wasn't the best idea, but I was so fascinated by it. And I spent so much time sitting at the desk. I spent hours sitting there, and I just thought it might be fun to do some research. So I started Googling stuff, and I fell down a rabbit hole of, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, stuff like that. Just kind of circulated around in my brain. But I realized that the one thing I wanted to do after I had researched all of this was talk to people about it and tell people about it and educate people about this. Because I do think that although it's kind of a dark topic and it's not something that a lot of people might want to talk about, there are like-minded people like me who love this stuff and want to know more and want to research it and want to find out, okay, well, how did this happen? And I really think that if I wasn't a performer, I'd probably be a criminologist. I just think this stuff is so fascinating. So I fell down this hole. I wanted to talk to people about it, and I never really thought about doing a podcast until recently because of Maria. And so here we are. This podcast is going to be mostly about dark occult stuff, but it's also going to have some nerdy stuff in it. I'm a really big geek. I love video games. I love Dungeons and Dragons. I'm obsessed with Tim Burton. I actually have a tattoo of a sandworm chasing Zero from Nightmare Before Christmas on my ankle. Comes out of a scar that I have down there. Sandworm's like about to reach out and grab him. I love Tim Burton, and the Burtonverse is so crazy and wild. I'm thinking that might be something that's cool to like explore in some future episodes. Maybe I'll do a mini series about just the Burtonverse and how everything's connected and wired and stuff like that. But also, I think that the podcast is going to have some really true crimey stuff, cold cases that never got solved. I think that stuff is fascinating as well. I think that it would be cool to do, some real serial killers, some real murders, some real crimes that happened that are wild and crazy. Cultists, we want Jim Jones. We got to have him in there, obviously. I'm also a really big horror movie fan, so I think there will probably be a lot of stuff about the history of certain horror franchises. Like, let's dig into what Hellraiser's about, the Cenobites, stuff like that. Let's talk about the Conjuring series and Poltergeist and Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger, and really dive into where did these characters come from? What are they derived from? How did we end up with the crossovers and the franchises that we have today that are, again, they're pretty like well known. Even if you don't watch the movies and you're not a fan, you know about them. Even Saw, stuff like that. I think that would be really cool to get into. One of my favorite movies of all time is Silence of the Lambs, and I really want to do 1 or 2 episodes. There'll probably be more, heads up, about just each character, like Buffalo Bill. Where did he come from? What is he doing? Hannibal Lecter, what did he come from? What is he derived from? His other movies that happened after Silence of the Lambs, stuff like that. And then there's going to be some, as I said, there's going to be true crime stuff. There's going to be some made up stuff. I love creepypasta. How can you be a horror fan and not know anything about Slender Man or the Wraith or SmileDog.jpg? That one like really freaks me out. Stuff like that I think would be really cool to get into. Candyman, things like that, along with, basic stuff like Dracula, unicorns, mermaids, fairies. These are things that all people know about today, and yet none of us really know where they came from or how they ended up the way they are. Fairies and pixies were pretty awful back in the day. It was kind of scary if you saw one, but now they're these cute little things that are in children's TV shows all the time. So how did we get there? How did it turn from this dark topic where people were led into the woods and basically died there to this cutesy topic for children? I think that might be cool to delve into. It's going to have all sorts of stuff. Again, I'm a really big nerd. I love anime. There are some really good horror animes out there like Death Note, Sword Art Online. People might not consider to be a scary anime as a whole, but the basis for it is kind of terrifying. Dead Man Wonderland, again, really scary anime. I love Japanese culture. They have some really cool stories. So I think just talking a lot about stuff like this would be really cool just to kind of delve into. I know that there are people out there that probably research this by themselves, and it would be cool to hear somebody else talk about it and throw their 2 cents in and, put my hat in the ring. I'm not necessarily an expert in these things, but I'm going to do the best research I can and give that to all of you. I'm planning on doing about 1 episode a week to start, just to see how it goes. Again, never podcasted before, first time, so let's just see how this works together. I plan on doing a Monday upload. This one's probably going to be going out a little bit earlier because I just want to get something on the platform so that people can start to get excited, tell their friends, get some hype up. There is an Instagram account that you can follow, speaking of getting hype. It is called Whispers from Below, no spaces, no underscores. There's nothing on it yet, really, because I just made it. It's just starting up, but tell your friends about it, get them to follow. If you want to share anything about this, it is Whispers from Below, #Whispers from Below. I'm really excited to start this. I think that, again, I'm going to do an upload on Monday. I'm planning on doing an 8 a.m. upload, and I want to do about 30 to 45 minute episodes for the most part. The reason is because I know my commute to get down to Midtown, where most of my stuff takes place, like when I have an audition or I have to take a class or I go to see a show, it's about like 30 minutes, give or take. So I feel like that's a common commute time for people that are like me, living in a city, taking public transportation, stuff like that. So I really think that that's a good one. Even if you just have a 15-minute commute, you started at 8 a.m. in the morning when you leave, you pause it, you come back to it on the car ride home, something like that. Gives you something to listen to. I don't want to do anything too long. I'm thinking 30 to 45 minutes per episode. I'm also, as I said before, I did season 1, episode 1. I'm planning on doing season 1 is going to be 10 episodes about, and I think each season that number might grow, it might shrink. That way it just gives me time to record everything, set it all up, get it uploaded, and then take a little break, take stock of what's working, what's not working, so that I can create better content for you guys in the future as this podcast grows, and as I get more feedback and stuff like that. Because right now it's just me sitting in my living room with a microphone and a notebook full of ideas. So I know it's going to grow, and I know it's going to get better. I'm going to get more comfortable on the mic. You guys are going to get more comfortable making an open conversation. I really want to hear from listeners that are saying, hey, I loved when you talked about this. Let's do more of that. Hey, I didn't like when you talked about this. That wasn't my favorite topic. I really want to just have a back and forth conversation with you guys and have this open communication. So yeah, let everybody know. Hopefully this will be up a little bit sooner, so you can send this to people, make sure that they know what they're going to be listening to, what they're in for. In the meantime, regular episodes are going to be uploaded on Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern. That is the goal. They're going to be about 30 to 45 minutes. Season 1, I think, is mostly going to be some pretty basic topics, just to dip my feet into the water, topics I'm comfortable with. Stuff like, spooky Pokedex entries and razor blades and Halloween candy, stuff like that, just to kind of dip your toes in the water, get everything settled. And then I might do some crazier topics as seasons progress. It's all up in the air right now, and I can't wait to get this started. So again, please follow the Instagram account. It is Whispers From Below with no spaces or underscores. Tell all your friends, Whispers From Below. And I will see you in the true start of this season.